Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's program, which is Women in Science Discovering Our Mojave. This is a program that was created in partnership with the Mojave Desert Land Trust and the NEA Big Read. The NEA Big Read is a program that's made possible by the National Endowment for the Arts, in partnership with Arts Midwest, and of course with all of our partners throughout the Morongo Basin that we're extremely grateful for. My name is Marie Bobbin, and I'm the program director for the Big Read and for Arts Connection, the Arts Council of San Bernardino County. And it's my pleasure to introduce you today to Mary Cook-Rhyne, who will be leading this discussion and who is the education coordinator as well as the program manager for the Wisdom program over at MDLT. But before I do that, I just want to plug the Big Read and future programs that we have going throughout the rest of the month and into October. If you want to learn more about the programs, you can visit our website at bigreadmorongobasin.com. We do, all of our programs are free, and we do have a program tomorrow morning, the intersection of gardening, harvesting, and holistic well-being. And in order to sign up, you can just visit our website to get the event link, which is a webinar link via Zoom. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Mary Cook-Rhyne.
Hey everybody, as Marie said, my name is Mary and I'm the Education Coordinator at MDLT, the Mojave Desert Land Trust. Our mission is to protect the Mojave and Sonoran ecosystems and their scenic and cultural and resource values. So the Wisdom program stands for Women in Science Discovering Our Mojave. And it is an internship designed to help women in the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And all my ladies here have heard this one so many times. They're like, okay, I know what a STEM field is. And if you have a question, we do have this set up that there'll be kind of almost round robin style where I will ask questions of the panelists, and then we'll go from there. So there's a timed answer for each question. And then at the very end, there'll also be a question and answer. So if you do have a question, you can go ahead and put that in the chat box. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and go through all of those. Okay. And today we have Abby, Miranda, Rosanna, and Alejandra. And both Miranda and Rosanna are current interns with the Wisdom program, and Alejandra and Abby are their previous interns, and all four of them are studying the bighorn sheep out in the Afton Canyon natural area, which is located within the Mojave Trails National Monument. And in Afton Canyon, it's one of the only areas where there is above ground water year round. So it's a really important area for the wildlife, and it's where a lot of people go rock hunting, fossil hunting, camping, off-roading. There's a lot of different things out there. So what we are doing is we're studying the movements of bighorn sheep through the area. Miranda and Rosanna have also started studying the tamarisk beetles, doing a quantitative survey out in the area. So we're expanding what we're able to do within the Wisdom program. And I'm actually going to read this because, well, I'm kind of nervous. I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to read what I have. And it's that Wisdom aims to utilize student-derived data in management decisions to develop citizen science opportunities to increase public engagement and land management. The long-term goal of Wisdom is to increase understanding of not only environmental science and land management issues in the Mojave Desert, but to also provide women from underserved populations the opportunity to conduct that research. This program offers interns, increased career opportunities, and can be used to help support graduate school applications or other job opportunities in the future. So what we are trying to do is make this a mutually beneficial program. MDLT, we're able to expand our mission, able to help reach more conservationists, create the next generation of land stewards. All of the women in the program are also able to expand their knowledge base of conservation in the Mojave Desert. And then we're also providing the BLM student-driven data that will help in management plans for the area. And so with that, I'd like each of the interns to give just a brief little background about who they are. And I'm just gonna go based on the tiles that I see on the screen. So Alejandra, would you like to share just a little bit of information about yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. So my name's Alejandra Lopez. I'm from Long Beach, California. I went to Long Beach City College and then transferred on to Cal State Long Beach. I graduated with, I majored in environmental science and policy and minored in geology. And I'm currently working as a resource assistant for the U.S. Forest Service.
Thank you, Alejandra. The next little tile is Abby. Abby, would you like to share a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby. I'm originally from a small town in Georgia. So out there, I got my bachelor's in biology from the University of North Georgia. And I moved to California about a year and a half ago. And right now, I'm currently a master's student for the microbiology and cell science program at the University of Florida.
Thank you, Abby. Miss Miranda, would you like to share a little bit about yourself, please?
Hey, I'm Miranda. I'm a lifetime resident of the Mojave Desert. I live in Apple Valley, California, and I love it there. I am currently a fourth year plant biology student and a plant science student at Cal Poly Pomona. I'm interested in ecology and understanding the networks that exist in the Mojave, and nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. And Rosanna, would you like to share a little bit about yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Rosanna, and I am a graduate from UC Riverside. I studied environmental science with a concentration in natural sciences, and one of my interests was in soil science. We started a soil science club, and currently I am one of the interns with the Bighorn Sheep Monitoring Project with the Mojave Desert Land Trust. It's good to be here today.
Thank you, Rosanna. Okay, so we're going to start with our questions. We're going to keep them at about 5 minutes each. This first question will be directed to Alejandra and Miranda, and then Abby and Rosanna, of course, you can add on if you really want to jump in there and kind of like, no, this is something cool that I need to talk about. So Alejandra and Miranda, what made you want to apply for and join the Wisdom program?
Do you want to start, Miranda, or should I?
You can go ahead.
Alejandra, go for it.
Okay. Okay. So I joined Wisdom DLT. It's kind of I love this story. It's kind of a funny story to me, but I first learned about MDLT when I was working on my bachelor's degree, and I was working on a water rights project. And I had to find a project somewhere in California that had something to do with water issues. And at the time, I found a water issue that was currently going on. I'm not sure if it still is, but it was with the Cadiz Water Project. I know MDLT is pretty familiar with that. And they had funded a hydrology study because with the Cadiz Water Project, it was pumping underground water from an area, and it was causing a lot of controversial, just a lot of controversy within the environmental community. And so I did my project on that, and then later on fast forward a couple months later, I was out in Joshua Tree, and I found a stand that it was a stand that was passing out flyers, and it was MDLT. And I was like, hey, I totally know about this nonprofit organization. And then afterwards, I started following them on social media, which is where I found that they were doing a wisdom project. And I was kind of interested because I had previously learned about bighorn sheep, and I wanted to be more involved and get to know it a little bit more. I know they had partnered up with BLM, and I was sort of familiar with what BLM also did. And that is how I ended up in wisdom.
Thank you, Alejandra. Miranda?
So I first learned about MDLT at the Babes Ride Out event that's held annually in Joshua Tree. A bunch of ladies get on their motorcycles, and then we camp out at the Joshua Tree campground out off of, I think it's Sunburst. Anyways, yeah. So I found out about MDLT from a booth there. And, you know, like I said, I've lived in the Mojave my whole life. And, you know, I've always been kind of disturbed at the lack of, like, the reckless abandon that, you know, it's been developing at. So to see an NGO that was, you know, powered by civilians who were really passionate about conserving and restoring and understanding, that mission really hit hard with me. And so I followed on social media, and I learned everything about that I could. And then I heard about the wisdom opportunity in the first year, but I was far too busy with academia. Like I couldn't get out of classes for the summer. And so when I found out about it on social media just a few months ago, you know, for this round of the internship, I was so excited that I got to have the opportunity. You know, the whole objective of going to school for me was to understand the desert better, and you know, to really call attention to how wonderful and how beautiful it is, and help heal it and restore and conserve. And so all of MDLT's missions really play into my core values. So I was so excited that I got the opportunity to be part of Wisdom.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes left for this question specifically. Abby or Rosanna, would you like to add on any other information? No? Okay, so I'm going to back up just a minute. The Wisdom program began last year. It was conceived by the BLM, and what happened last year is that an actual BLM intern started up the program, and then MDLT stepped in and started helping out and running the program. So from last summer through December, Abby, Alejandra, and another intern ran the program, or were the interns in the program. And then right now, Miranda, Rosanna, and another intern are finishing up that year-long study of the bighorn sheep. And along with that, they're also studying the Tamaris beetle. And we also, there's a lot of alsos in this sentence right here. Just someone grammatically change it in your head, it'll be okay. We also have a third study happening right now. Is a second group of 3 interns have just started. We had our first field night last week, and they are studying the nighttime sky quality within the western portion of the national monument. All right, and with that, we're right on time. We're going to start with question number 2. And Rosanna, I'm going to ask you this one first. Or no, Abby, I'm going to ask you this one first. Sorry, I was looking at question 3. So So Abby, we'll start with you first, and then Alejandra, I'll ask for you to answer as well. And of course, Miranda and Rosanna, you can hop in there. We also have 5 minutes for this question. So ladies, what did you hope to get out of the program? What did you get out of the program? And how has the internship affected the way you view conservation and public land use? And I know that's a lot, so sorry.
Okay, so for me, I had, like I said, just recently moved to 29 Palms, so it's a pretty remote area of California, I would think, coming from where I was born and raised. And this time I started this online program for my master's, and that was something that was very new to me as well. And I'm sure that's something that everyone's kind of struggling with now, is an online platform for school and work. And so I had a decent amount of bench work for the lab coming from my undergrad, but I really missed out on a lot of those field opportunities. And being in a completely different environment, I really did fall in love with the desert and really wanted to get out there and experience it firsthand and see if I could get some research experience in the field. So this has just been an amazing opportunity. I was able to meet so many people through the BLM, different professionals, and my eyes were really open to an entirely different field of work. So the research, but really focusing on the field aspect rather than locking yourself in a lab all day, which is what I was previously used to.
Thank you, Abby. All right, Alejandra.
So kind of like Abby, I wanted more experience. I had previously graduated and I had an internship before that, but I also wanted to just put myself out there, put my name out there, and just try to find opportunities. And luckily I was able to land this opportunity, and I was so happy when I did. I wanted to learn more about GIS. I wanted to learn more about public land use and how the BLM kind of handles more of the land use aspect of it. And I did learn a lot through sorry. Sorry about that. The second question was what, Mary? I'm sorry.
No worries. The second question was, how has the internship affected the way you view conservation and public land use?
Okay. So how it changed my view of conservation was I would normally pass by that area just through the freeway, and just, because it's on the way to Vegas, it's something you just normally just pass by without really thinking about it. And through this internship, being able to go out there and just find this beautiful piece of land that I did not know that ever existed. And I'm from California, born and raised, and I just knowing there's so many places that are so beautiful, and we don't have many of us because we just don't know, or we just don't have the time. We just don't have, or just sometimes even the resources to go out and, experience these beautiful places. And I personally, I just loved the area. I used to call them, when me and Abby used to drive by that area, just driving by the red rocks and like the little red, how it sparkled in the sun. I just thought it was so beautiful, and I thought this is definitely an area that should be conserved. And yeah, that's it. Just there's so many beautiful places that we don't get to see or experience, and a lot of them should.
Thank you, Alejandra. So our next question is for Rosanna. Actually, it's technically for anybody who wants to answer. I'm going to ask Rosanna to answer, and then Miranda. So if we are thinking about diversity and inclusion, how do you feel about offering internship programs like Wisdom for underrepresented college students? So.
So the Wisdom internship, I honestly think was a really great opportunity. Coming from this area, the Mojave Desert, you don't really get a lot of opportunities like this, and then even less so whenever you, whenever you are a more of a minority. And that's just because of like availability and usually because of experience. One of the things that I kind of learned about whenever I was working with the MDLT, when I would do volunteer work with them, is that they would really try to push getting other minorities and diverse groups out there to enjoy public lands, because there's a lot of things that I didn't know about public lands and that I'm still learning about right now with this internship. And I think that the experience it offers is invaluable. So an opportunity like this to actually get out there, experience kind of like more local public lands and doing these activities, seeing what other, seeing all the different like flora and fauna out there is completely something that I wouldn't have thought about if I didn't do like anything in science, or if I didn't take the chance and actually do this internship.
Thank you, Rosanna. Miranda.
Like you sang my song, Rosanna. That's I feel a lot of the same ways. Like having it be so local, it was something really great. I think as far as diversity and inclusion, especially in our area, we really don't have a lot of opportunities to work scientifically, like Rosanna was saying. I can also speak to how important it is to feel comfortable. My experience in academia so far has been one, especially in my like upper courses, of competition. And it feels so great to get to know these other women, and it's so collaborative. And I think that that's something that that the STEM field, all STEM fields are, they're currently reaping the rewards from diversity and inclusion. And I feel like I personally am gaining from those efforts to be more inclusive, because I feel so comfortable with Rosanna and Brandy and with Mary, like going out and really being able to learn and really be myself and not have to worry about being competitive or watching what I say, or you can really be comfortable, and you learn a lot better when you're comfortable. So that's why I think it's a great opportunity for minorities and to include others.
Alejandra or Abby, we have 2 more minutes on this question if you would like to pop in.
I do just want to highlight on what Miranda said, the comfort of being around other women that are in science. Like, it's such a great feeling, and it is very opening. You're able to discuss these things that you otherwise, if you're with different peers, you're maybe not as open to discuss, feeling like you would be invalidated. And it is something that is so awesome for young women to experience, is to just be able to put their thoughts out there and then be validated and be able to have an open discussion with other women that feel the same way.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I want to add on to that as well. Just being comfortable with just being comfortable, it just gives you that opportunity to ask more questions if you feel like you don't know something, or if you feel like maybe perhaps if something needs to be more explained in a certain way, then it's just having that comfort level definitely helps. Another thing too that I wanted to add was with inclusion, it was just for example, Abby, she was a completely different major than I was, and so was the other intern, and I can see Rosanna and Miranda, they're from different majors as well, but there, it's having more than just one person with one major that, because three people working in one project and those different ideas can definitely give more opportunity than just if you have one room with one person with one major and then it's all the same major. So I think that inclusion part of adding more than just, one specific major, but allowing that opportunity for other majors in the science field to be a part of the program helps a lot.
Thank you, ladies. If I start crying, nobody mind. It just makes me really happy. So sorry, I even have goosebumps. I love you people. Okay, so our next question is for Abby and then Miss Miranda. If we're thinking about equity and equality within the STEM fields, have you found yourself making decisions that kind of put your life on hold because you are a female scientist? Have you found that to be something you are making changes for as a female scientist?
So anyone who has a career in science will tell you right off the bat that there is an innumerable amount of hours and time that is put behind your academics and your research and just preparing for your careers in general. But this obviously has a major disadvantage for women, just as their more societal expectations go. I guess they're more expected to stay in the home and, you know, play a major part in raising a family. So as for me, there's obvious decisions that have pushed my life back in different ways. I did move out to California because I was married and my husband was stationed out here. So it was a huge change for me, especially pulling me away from that lab environment that I had. And then so you have this gap of time where you are employed or active in the lab that you have to fill in for and explain to employers or just academics is why I had this gap and how I can catch up to my peers. And so women definitely have to make more decisions regarding their careers that have a definite impact on their lives. It's a constant balancing game. And you have to do this just to be taken seriously and prove that you're truly ambitious about your career. But you also have to be able to manage this family and home aspect of it.
Thank you, Abby. Miranda?
Yeah, I agree, you know, with everything that Abby said. My experience has been similar to that. Like I feel that I have faced more dilemmas than my male counterparts would have faced. You know, having a family is kind of out of the question. I feel, you know, until I reach an advanced degree. I know that I have instructors who are capable of doing it, and they're great role models, but I can't imagine, you know, doing that. So that's something that, like many other sacrifices that I've made for academia, like that is one that is tied to, you know, to my social role as, you know, what we expect from females, you know, in society right now. But, you know, everything that I have sacrificed for science, like everything that I have sacrificed for my education has all been worth it. And like, I can't think of anything that would be, you know, that I would have done any differently. So.
Thank you. Alejandra or Rosanna, we have 1 minute left. Would you like to add on? Nope. All right, I'm gonna pop in there because I do have an advanced degree and I'm doing all of this and I have 2 kids, so I completely feel you. And it is definitely a challenge. Mine are actually out of the home right now with my husband because that's like, you're not gonna pop up in the background. That's not gonna be a thing. So that's a thing. All right, so question number 5. How do you, oh, and we're going to start with Rosanna and then Alejandra, if you would follow up, please. How do you feel about the science field's current attitude towards women? So in the book, one of the things Hope talked about was that challenge to be taken seriously, to kind of try to balance that work home life. So what kind of challenges do you think we face And what do you feel the current attitudes in the science fields are towards women?
So as far as the current kind of feel for how women are treated in the field of science, I was lucky enough to where I had a lot of other women that were in the major with me and were in soil science club with me, to where there was like a pretty strong communal bond between us. Like literally one of the nicest things was going on my first like soil judging trip with a couple of older grad students, where they showed us how to judge soil in a very comfortable situation. But I did see a lot of other instances in which, you know, there were some questionable things about how my other like peers thought about women in science. One of the things I really kind of learned is that like you can't really let up whenever you're working in a field. Like one of the things that I found was that, you know, if you ever got like sick, or if you ever just needed to take like a day for yourself, you kind of be seen as like a little softer just because you had to take that extra time off to either take care of yourself or not be as dedicated towards your research or your academics. But there are just a lot of other different things in which that can manifest. But I think that the field of science is taking a lot of steps to kind of integrate more inclusivity, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Rosanna. Alejandra?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Rosanna. I think that I came into the science field when it was, I think, changed than what previously has been. I think now in this day and age, they are trying to do a lot more better to include women. When I was doing my major in Cal State Long Beach, I was not the only girl there. There was plenty of other girls or females that were doing the same major, putting in the same amount of work. There was very smart females in there that were very strong-minded and very vocal. And if they had any questions, they would be sure to ask, and they weren't shy. And there was also men and in those courses too, and we all got along pretty well. It was not like, oh, men go to one side and women go to one side. It was not like that. It was a mixture of both genders. And I didn't really experience that much, to be honest. When I did an internship, it was the same, both females and males, and we all got along and we all kind of learned from each other. And after that internship, when I went to Wisdom and got to experience the internship with just females, it was the same. I never felt like I was ever discriminated against because I was a female. I have heard of stories previously. I was in a different webinar when a female archaeologist mentioned that she was out in the field and had a talk with another male archaeologist, and he told her, "Oh, you actually do know what you're talking about." And I never experienced that, but I know that it was definitely a thing, especially for, I guess, maybe older generations. But I think we've been lucky enough there's definitely still, that wage gap and all that, where men get paid more than females. And so that's still definitely something that I think as a society we need to work on. Having programs like Wisdom and other programs that also include minorities, females, and different types of races as well.
Thank you, Alejandra. Okay, so for our last question, this one is going to be for everyone. So if everyone could just, briefly kind of share their thoughts. How do you feel and how do you think about representation as a female role model for other scientists? And how have other female scientists helped shape the way that you are now? Did you feel more empowered to pursue the sciences and to promote that within the community? And I had a joke about Marie Curie being radiant, and now I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so Miranda, would you like to take on that question first, please?
Hey, sorry, I couldn't figure out unmute. So as far as the impact that role models have had on me, I know something that I faced a lot is like feelings of inadequacy and really having a hard time with confidence in STEM. And that has caused me to waste a lot of time, skirting the issue when really, if I had the confidence, I would have just, I would have taken those harder math classes right away. It took me a while to, gain the confidence in myself. And even in class to speak up, if I had the right answer, just speak up. But I have slowly gained that from my instructors and from my advisors. And something great that I've noticed is, this semester I'm in a physics and a calculus class, and they're female dominated. And so I think that has to be an artifact of, of our predecessors, of our female predecessors, to, help us to have someone to look up to have someone to follow in that path. So now there's a larger proportion at the moment, at least in my experience of women tackling these things. And it's because the pathway has been laid for us.
Thank you, Miranda. Alejandra, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, actually with a 10th grade teacher, she was my environmental science teacher, and I looked up to her so much because thanks to her, it was thanks to her class that she taught. I was already kind of thinking about, in the back of my head, always kind of had that very caring personality and wanted to always better the environment, but taking that class and just seeing just the way she taught it and just the way she cared so much as well, it just really opened up that whole world to me. Before, after taking her class, I joined the environmental science club at school, started attending beach cleanups, and I am so grateful took her class and that she majored in, she was, I believe, a chemist, and ended up doing environmental science or teaching environmental science because it was something that she believed in, and it showed in her class. And it just, I don't know, I will always remember my teacher. She was so awesome. And I think very inspiring, and to this day, I'm so grateful I took her class.
Thank you, Alejandra. Rosanna?
So I was lucky enough to where I had a lot of great role models within the environmental science major that made me feel so comfortable, and they had so much unabashed love for mostly soil science, because we're just really big soil science nerds. But it also shows that there's more than one route towards your method of study. I had a lot of different kinds of stories of how they got into their majors, what kind of difficulties they had to face, you name it. And it shows that if you do have a love or a passion for something and you want to keep going with it, then just do it. And then I want to be able to show other people the same thing in general, I mean, my path I don't think is the most conventional, but I mean, there's more than one way to crack an egg.
Well said. Thank you, Rosanna. Abby?
Yeah, I love this question, and it's so funny that you mentioned Marie Curie, because that, for some reason, her new TV show popped in my head as soon as you mentioned that. But anyways, it's really empowering to think of yourself as a role model for younger generations, because we do have these women that we look up to. Unfortunately, just being from the small town that I was from, I did not have really any female professors or instructors. They were all males. So I did heavily depend on those brilliant female scientists that you learn about. And as the oldest of 4 younger sisters, it is always something that I've tried to keep in mind, that I am someone that they're looking up to, and just showing them that this can be done, regardless of what kind of diversity or exclusivity that we face. Even though it is to a lesser degree today, it is definitely still out there. But the most obvious example I can think about this with wisdom is I had an amazing opportunity to actually speak to some high schoolers last year at a local high school in an ecology class. And the best part of this was that, coincidentally, this ecology class was all female students. So it was a really great conversation, and to talk to them about the research that we were doing, as well as different outlets that female scientists can take, different scholarships, and just opportunities to really get their hands in the field and in the dirt, essentially, with this particular internship, and just get out there and experience it for themselves and just make the best that they can.
Thank you, Abby. So we have a few minutes left. If anyone has like closing remarks, anything you really feel a passion to share about, anything you really need to get off your chest, we'll take about 4 minutes. And then if not, we're gonna go ahead and do our Q&A session, where we'll have people put their questions into the chat, and then we'll answer them out loud to all of our friends who are watching with us. So does anybody have something they really want to share, something that's like just a burning thing that you need to talk about?
I do. I think mostly I just want to express gratitude. Like, you know, and I'm so happy to be able to get to know, you know, this place that I love, and be a part of conserving and helping and understanding it. And so just gratitude, you know, to everyone who's put all the effort to make the program a success and to organize it. And, you know, it's just such a great opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful for it. So.
Thank you.
I want to second that, just to say that the Wisdom Internship has definitely been the highlight of living out here. I have grown such an appreciation and love for the desert in general, and more, I guess, just an appreciation for conservation and public land use. There's been so much more research that I've put into it since then, just to kind of stay up to date with the current issues. And I have spent so much more time outdoors because of the internship, and that's something I continue to do, and absolutely am just so grateful that I was exposed to that and that I can continue to love it.
That's great. Alejandra or Rosanna, do you have any closing remarks?
To kind of piggyback on what Abby and Miranda were saying, like literally this internship has been a great opportunity, and then also it gave me the chance to take a look at somewhere where you usually think like the back of your hand, but always learn something new or go somewhere new. And it's great to have something new to discover with somewhere that you think of as home.
Thank you.
I think what I want to add on, was to anybody that's listening, I'm not sure if you were thinking about pursuing a career in the science field or what your thought is in life, but just go for it. If it's something that you're passionate about and it's something that you're thinking about, just go for it. Put it your all in. Your passion's gonna show, and that's gonna be what's gonna help you succeed, I think. And network. I can't say that the most. Is I think if it wasn't for my internship that I did with the MDLT, and they were partnered up with the, if I would be able to have the internship that I have now. I'm so grateful for that opportunity and just getting to know Mary, because she, I reached out after our internship, and she wrote me a letter of recommendation, and she was so nice about it. And to this day, I try to, connect every now and then with Mary and to see how she's doing, and I just go for it.
Thank you, Alejandra. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm mixing it up. I'm going to do my closing remarks and my thank you, and then we'll open it up to the questions. So that way y'all hear the closing remarks before you bounce, in case you're trying to bounce it early. So I just wanted to say thank you to Abby, Miranda, Rosanna, and Alejandra. I really appreciate your time today. And I really appreciate all four of you as female scientists, as interns, and as peers. I've learned a lot from each of you, and I really appreciate that. I'd also like to thank the Arts Connection and the Big Read for hosting this program, and having Lab Girl as the book. It is, I'm a trained archaeologist. That's what I did, and I probably wouldn't have read the book if it wasn't for the Big Read. So I really liked it. It was a great book. So I appreciate everybody for putting that book out there, and it was totally worth the read. So if anybody watching hasn't read it, I would suggest it. It's not something that I thought I would like either, and I totally did. So there's that. And I'd also like to thank our grantors, because without our grantors, we wouldn't be able to have the Wisdom program. So thank you to Southern California Edison for supplying the grants to keep this program going, and to the BLM. There are partners in this project, and if it wasn't for the BLM, we wouldn't have such amazing things to do and amazing places to go. Rosanna, just like you, I grew up out here, and I'm learning more and more each time we go somewhere, each time we have these Wisdom internship programs. There's been a lot of places that you think you know, and then you'll find out otherwise. So I wanted to just say thank you to all four of you, to the BLM, to our grantors, and to the Arts Connection. I really appreciate it. So now we're going to go ahead and open it up. I have some questions here, and then if they seem like they're very specific, I'll ask specific people, but otherwise it will be open to all four of you. Okay, so one of the first questions was, what was the most exciting discovery that you made during the internship? So now that could be, maybe it was on our drive out to Afton, maybe it was in those dirt roads just within the monument. So what was one of, or maybe it wasn't even while we were out in the field, maybe it was in the office. So what was one of the most exciting things that happened during the internship, or is currently happening?
I can answer. I can.
Of course, go on. You're good.
When we were doing a lot of the field work, picking up the SD cards, it wasn't until we would go back to the office, going through all the pictures that I truly saw how diverse and how much wildlife there is in the desert. And it's crazy to think because I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that the desert is just a whole plain of just, dry land, no water, no wildlife. It's just, a desert. And it's so easy to just think that. But through this internship, I found so much, like when we saw the bobcats, when we saw the roadrunners, rabbits, it was very diverse, and it was very exciting I would never even think there was a bobcat out in the desert or was it a mountain lion? I can't remember which one it was.
It was a bobcat, you're right.
The bobcat, yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so exciting because I didn't know that prior to this internship, and I loved seeing how many, well, we're not sure how many sheep were actually there, but just seeing how many when they pass by in groups and how many there really is, it's like, wow, these animals are really able to survive out there, and it's amazing.
Thank you, Alejandra. Anybody else want to answer the question? What was the most interesting thing or the most exciting thing?
I jumped in before I knew how this was going to go, and I responded to the person who asked the question. I'll elaborate. On our first day out, Rosanna caught sight of this beautiful male bighorn sheep, and he was there with a ewe, and so we got to see them. I've lived in the desert my whole life, and I've only seen one bighorn sheep from like way far away, and to see this guy, in his natural environment, like he had just come up from a watering hole, and he was watching us like, what are you people doing? So we definitely kept our distance, and then after that lovely couple walked away, we also got to see a couple of juvenile rams, and their behavior, and they were so playful, and it was really cool to see them like playing on the hillside. And so it's great because these large fauna need vast amounts of space. And so I think a lot of people look out in the desert and they think, oh, this is just, again, like a wasteland, but they need this minimum to survive. And so like the conservation efforts are so worth it because we get to preserve them and, give them elbow room out there because that's what they need.
Awesome, thank you, Miranda. Okay, so my friends who are watching digitally, this part is gonna be, I'm gonna apologize for it right this moment. But Abby and Alejandra, we saw the bighorn where y'all saw the black heron last time. So that same watering hole. Sorry, friends at home.
Oh,
Okay.
that's so exciting. I'm so happy you guys actually got to see one out in the field. I never got a chance to see one, or we didn't when we were out there. But we were definitely excited when we saw it in the office.
Thank you. All right, so our next question has been posed, and it is, and I think anybody and everybody could answer this one. Do you have a dream job? What would you be doing and in what location? So.
Okay, I'll go. Dream job for me is research. I know that's so broad. Infectious disease research was my initial go-to, which is so strange because I was so interested in this environmental conservation research that we were doing. So I did do kind of like a 180, which is fairly common in the science field, I'd say. You find different interests. But that my microbiology background gives me that flexibility that now I'm kind of going into an environmental microbiology direction for research. And that's super exciting. Hopefully I'll be going to Florida soon and doing some environmental microbiology in the bogs down there. So that'll be fun.
Thank you, Abby. I remember you telling me all about mosquitoes, and I've been really good about keeping away from them ever since. Miranda, it looked like you had Rosanna, wanted to take on that question? What's your dream job and what would you be doing?
So if, like, big surprise, my dream job would be someone that does soil surveys. So pretty much, if you've ever looked on like the USGS, they have a big catalog of soil surveys that they've done like throughout the years, but not all of them are updated. So my dream just be to go out, like do field work, study and judge these soils, get that information, get that data out there, maybe with some other updated stuff, you know, some GIS, to help make it a little more easy for use and accessible. And then just relax inside of like a pit for like a cool 5 hours.
I can answer that one as well. I know, like, I love research and I love being in the field, and I love plants predominantly. So I would work with plants, and I love the Mojave Desert. So I would work in the Mojave Desert with plants. I also like, I would like to like solve a mystery. Like I would like to solve a big question, you know. And so I think kind of the really hard thing about you know, being an entry-level scientist is coming up with creative questions that you're trying to solve. So I know, like, my dream job, I would be solving this big landscape question, you know, something that's important. And then I also love working with people. So my dream job would also incorporate, you know, outreach. I'm an Indigenous person, and I think that it's really important for to bridge people who are Indigenous to a certain area to have a voice in the conservation of, you know, in the way that their area, their ancestral lands are treated. So that would be part of my dream job, but to be incorporate, you know, these big landscape ideas and then bridging the people who are Indigenous to the area to those ideas, and reinforcing their ideals and their roles in the landscape.
Thank you, Miranda. All right. Alejandra, did you, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, for my dream job, I'm not too sure what that would be. When I went to school, I wanted to do more of conservation, and then I started learning more the policy side of environmental science. So I got I wanted to learn more about environmental laws. And so that's kind of where I'm at now, where I'm learning a little bit more about environmental laws like the Clean Water Act, the National Protection Environmental Act, the Environmental Species Act. And I want to hopefully sometime in the future kind of move more towards water. I don't know what that really will entail, but I know that water, there's something about water rights and, you know, the Clean Water Act, the Drinking Act, all that, it kind of interests me a lot. So maybe somewhere along the lines of there.
Thank you, Alejandra. So another question that we've received is, what was your favorite thing about doing field work? And then what did you find most challenging? So thinking about field work, what's the best? What's this? What's this?
I think my favorite part of fieldwork was getting out of this mindset that in order to be doing research, you have to sit at a lab bench all day, every day, in order to get something done. I love going outside, and it was really just an awesome feeling to put those two together. Like, I really could accomplish something in a science field as well as doing another thing that I love. So that was the best part of field work for me, is just really finding myself and getting out there and linking these two amazing parts of my life. the only downside I could say is it does get a little warm out here when you're hiking for, about 5 miles a day. And that's it though. But honestly, you're with other people and you're just having a great time, and it doesn't affect you as much as I thought it would.
All right, anybody else?
I'll hop in. So one of my favorite parts of fieldwork is, that whole big after where you have all your data that you compile and you want to see like what kind of picture it makes. Like the actual act of like doing fieldwork and everything is relatively relaxing, or at least I find it relatively relaxing, but at the end when you get to see that big picture, as far as what you're researching or what kind of trends you're looking for. But also I would have to say that one of the more difficult challenges of doing fieldwork is building up that endurance, whether that be for heat, being out for long periods of time, or just, carrying like 40 pounds of lab equipment with you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alejandra?
I think my favorite thing about being in the field, and especially being in Afton Canyon, like I've visited Afton Canyon recreationally, but being there in a research context, it makes me want to quantify everything. And so I find that even like recreationally, like I'm looking at the desert because I go out in the desert almost every weekend, and so now I'm starting to build up those questions in my head, like, well, what can we quantify? What do we want to know? What do we already know? What would it help to understand? As I'm going out and walking, taking a hike, or walking around in the wilderness, and that's my favorite thing. And then like maybe also my most challenging thing is that like we never have enough time. We always want to like poke around a little bit more. And because it's just so interesting, like when you get out there and you just get really fired up about about what you're doing. And so those are kind of two sides of the same coin.
I feel you, Miranda.
I wanted to add on as well. One of my favorite things about working in the field was just the ending results of it. Like we would be out, and it was challenging sometimes because it would get a little bit hot. I think me, Abby, we got pretty lucky, and when we did our internship where it was not during the summertime, where it was more closer to fall. So I think we got pretty lucky in that aspect. So we would get days that were pretty hot, but then there was some days that were not as hot as I would think. Definitely hydrating, drinking lots of water helps as well. And don't ever forget your hat. I think that's probably one of the most important things. But I think I went into this internship knowing so little about the bighorn sheep, and coming out and learning and just knowing so much more just off all that data that we collected in the field. And I think that was probably the most rewarding for me, was just coming out and just knowing like sometimes little things that I didn't think, like the peak hours that bighorn sheep are usually out, and when they're the most active, and just kind of learning their little path, and that was very rewarding to me. And I think that was probably my biggest highlights of the of the internship, is just getting to know the sheep more. And that was a lot of, it was so cool. I still have a picture of them in my computer.
Thank you, Alejandra. And so for my friends at home who haven't been following MDLT and all of the blog posts that we've been doing, I want to say it was my first time now with Alejandra and Abby and Elena, is it was 105 that day. And then our second field day this time with Miranda, Rosanna, and Brandy, we left extra early because it was supposed to get up to 115. And we left the canyon by, what was it, lady, like 10 or 11? We were out of the canyon and it was already 102. So it gets really hot out there. And then when one of the BLM interns was, when he and I went out, it had gotten down to like 22 or something. So the canyon really varies in the temperature and what it's like out there. So my friends at home, if you haven't been, you should go. And now's the time to go. It was for the night sky. It was great during the day. Then once we were actually camping overnight, it got pretty cold. So now would be a good time to go visit the canyon. And there's a campground there, a nice campground too. And it's not going to be nearly as busy as the park, although now that we say this out loud, watch what happens, right? So if anybody has another question, then we're going to answer that. But otherwise, I think we are close to time. So if somebody has a quick question or a quick closing remark, now would be the time. Otherwise, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, for Abby, Miranda, Rosanna, and Alejandra. I really appreciate your time today. And folks, if you haven't read Lab Girl, go ahead and read it, and read the very end and plant a tree. So I'm going to leave you with that, so I won't give you a spoiler alert. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for spending your Saturday with us.
Bye. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Mary. Thanks.
Bye. I'll see you guys